Good evening, all. How are we today?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Thank
Well,
you.
welcome to another round, another week, another Friday of Paranormal Pals podcast. We got no news this week. So, yeah, I guess we'll just jump straight into it, shall we? So, this week we thought we'd talk about. Barbara and I have been having some very deep and meaningful conversations for, probably over a year now, with regards to whether or not what we're doing is achieving anything when we're attempting to investigate the paranormal. Now, like anything, I have pretty strong views on this. None of us profess to know what the answer is. But
Or if they say they do, they're lying.
Yeah, exactly. But it was basically, we thought we'd have a general discussion on what we're doing and whether it's actually not making any difference, but whether or not it's actually achieving anything. So I guess, to be quite honest with you, when I look at the headline, Ghosts, Gadgets, and Gut Feelings, are we getting it right? Straight off the bat, I'm going to say, no, we're not getting it right. Because we keep seeing the same techniques being used, the same equipment being used, and the same results being garnered. And so if we're not really getting anything, why are we continuing to use these same techniques, the same equipment, these same processes, if you like? Because what we're achieving is pretty much not definitive. It's nothing. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
From an engineering background, and I do a lot of new development work, I'd call that doing the control. If that's any other way of describing it. Maybe we are picking stuff up, but we can't hear it or see it, or, we can't actually process it for some reason.
That's what, I mean, Barbara and I have had these discussions before, and I don't actually, as I say, I don't know what the answer is. Nobody does, because if they did, they'd be getting a lot more, and I'm not going to use that word, but we'd be getting a lot more, producing a lot more artifacts or producing a lot more anomalies than what we're actually producing. I mean, when you think about it, how often is it that someone gets something visual that isn't moisture in the air, airborne particles, dust, bugs, insects, that sort of thing? It's not very often. So that tells me that the equipment that we're using and how we're going about it is not the right way. So is it the light spectrums in which we're trying to capture these things that are the wrong light spectrums? Do you know what I mean? That is something that I actually really firmly believe, that we're not using the right light spectrum to capture what we're trying to capture.
Even on full spectrum.
Sorry?
Even on full spectrum.
Even on full spectrum.
UV.
Yep. Even on full spectrum.
Because let's face it, even using the different spectrums, because full spectrum cameras are not new, very little has actually been caught on full spectrum camera. And virtually nothing on camera has by a reputable team has been actually found. I mean, some of these the ghost photos have been proven to be fake. I don't believe we're ever going to get photographic evidence. Now, as some of you know, I live in a building where we do have a fair amount of activity, and we have cameras through the place, and I've had it where I've seen doors fling open. I've heard it, and I've seen it with my own eyes. But for some reason, the camera doesn't pick it up. Possibly because with the doors flinging open, it was too quick. But there's always some reason. There's always something that happens that it's not actually caught on camera. And I can't help but think that we're just not supposed to catch it.
I'm wondering the same thing. I mean, excuse me, I harken back to my very first investigation with a group in New Zealand, where I was actually I joined the team, and it was my first outing. And I saw an apparition on the monitor, clear as a bell. And yet when the footage was reviewed, it wasn't there. It wasn't just me that saw this apparition. It was a colleague of mine that was on the team, and it was the person who actually worked at the venue that we were at. We all saw it. We all spoke to each other at the time because we were absolutely blown away with what we were seeing on the screen. It was so definitive. It was there. When it walked into another investigator, that investigator collapsed on the floor, and yet there was nothing captured on the actual recording. And yet we were watching it through the monitors. So that kind of tells me that, and that was an IR, that for some reason, why didn't that record? It recorded everyone walking around. It recorded the investigator collapsing on the ground, but it didn't record what us three were seeing when we were looking at the monitors. And yet the other thing I think about too quite often when we're talking about video, when we're talking about visuals, is supposedly, and I only say this because this is the only experience I've had, but for quite a few people that don't know, Quantum has a K9 team, not that they get to stretch their legs very often, because of the supposed ability for animals, particularly horses, dogs, and cats, to pierce the veil and see the other world or beings from the other world. I've witnessed it on a couple of occasions with dogs and cats. And then when I look into the light spectrums in which dogs and cats see, maybe that is what we should be playing around with, because they only have a very narrow light spectrum field. So that's something that I am doing a little bit of research and have been for quite a few years now, but it's on and off. You know how you jump in and you research things and then you forget about it for a year and then you go back to it. So that's something that I've been looking into for quite a while.
If you do full spectrum, you would pick up those frequencies.
Yes, but you're picking up all of those frequencies. That's the difference. You're not when the dog or the cat's looking at them, they're not picking up all of the light spectrums.
Yeah, but you should be able to isolate it through masking.
You can. Well, through masking?
Because you have different layers.
You can actually do it with the phasm light that both of us have got, Tash.
Yeah, I know. But if it's a certain frequency, you should see it regardless of everything else.
No, because the other mixing in changes. I mean, when you're looking, for instance, I can't remember what it is, cats see in the yellow-green spectrums only. So when you're using full spectrum, you're using all of the spectrum of light, apart from X-ray, of course. And I hate the word full spectrum because it's not full spectrum, because it doesn't see an X-ray. So it's multi-spectrum that it sees in.
I mean, all an actual full spectrum camera is that it's a camera that doesn't have without the infrared and ultraviolet filters, isn't it? So, and that is why you can see it in full spectrum. Who's to say that cats and dogs don't actually see things differently? And it might not just be their eyes. I mean, that's only one sense. I mean, I'm sure that animals can also feel, well, we know they've got, that they have an extrasensory perception. And it may not just be that they're seeing these things with their eyes. It could be that it's enhanced by their other senses.
That's
Like
true.
smell.
That's true.
Like
Yeah,
smell.
true.
Yeah,
But
it
also
could be.
their brains process the wavelengths differently.
Well,
Yeah.
their retinas do as well. So there's a whole shebang, and so do their lenses. There's a whole
Yeah.
shebang that goes behind it. But the
Yeah.
first start, to my mind, is to use yellow light spectrum only, or to use yellow/green light spectrums only, to see if we're going to capture something that way first, and then start looking at the other things that are behind that. It's also their lenses. Their lenses are far more concave than what ours are. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. But I'm starting at point A.
Somewhere. Yeah, you have to start
Exactly.
your research somewhere with it and take it from there. So no, I'm excited for you for that, Tracey. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all works out and how it all comes along, because let's face it,
if I live long enough to get any further with it, I'm trying.
we're not going to let you die yet, Tracey.
It's all right. I'll just plug the phone in from the other side and let you know how it all works.
I know. Well, you know perfectly well you'll have a big job to do if you don't.
God,
You'll be
yeah, tell me
dancing in
about
front of Tasha's full spectrum camera.
But I think that's only
Which can't
one.
see it.
Yeah, but you can't see it. Yeah, I think that's only sort of like, I mean, we know that people use IR. We know that people use UV and have played around with UV. We know that people have played around with full spectrum. But what about the other light spectrums that haven't been played around with? And I'm only picking out two of them because I've witnessed dogs and cats watch something. Like they're looking at something that I can't see. And no, it's not an insect, It's what most people say. No, it's not. So that's the first thing that I want to look at with regards to the actual visual capacity of trying to capture things. But we have a whole bunch. No, Tony, we're all in our individual homes. Yep, we're all sitting in different parts of the country, actually. Isn't it fantastic, the world we've got nowadays?
Tony's my brother.
Okay. So I think that's just one aspect of what I'm talking about. And when I talk about someone who has seemed to capture a lot with full spectrum, I think of Gurav.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey,
Hi,
Colleen. Yeah, so I think of Gurav because, I mean, I don't know whether, and guys, if you want to watch Gurav in action, you can go on to YouTube and look up Haunting Australia, I think it's called. It was actually quite a good program. Maybe I'll make a note for myself to put the link in the bottom for you. Pretty sure it's called Haunting Australia. And you can see what I mean about the bits and bobs that he captures. Whether or not he truly captures them, I don't know.
Yeah, strangely. I mean, he's once again, one of these TV investigators who seems to almost every investigation he would capture stuff on his, with his full spectrum camera. Almost every investigation.
Some of it I could look at and go, oh, that could be anything. But there was 3 or 4 I looked at and I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive, actually. Bless his soul, may he rest in peace. But when we're talking about that, there's also I want to look at audio, because I think what we're doing with audio, I'm not really, and I definitely know, listen, we go into these places, we ask, and I'm guilty of it at times as well, we ask the same questions to every goddamn spirit that we supposedly are coming across. Is there anyone here? can you knock on something if you're with us? You know, can you make a noise? Can you copy me? Or as in Most Haunted, copy me. You know, so, and we ask them to perform for us to let us know that they're here. I think that it's not also about the recording. I think that the actual questioning leaves a lot to be desired by 98 to 99% of people that are going out there and doing call-out sessions or EVP sessions. I think we need to think outside of the box when we're asking questions during our EVP sessions, and maybe not focus on, I don't know, maybe not focus on the spirit so much, but maybe the things that have happened in the location, and see if we can elicit responses that way. Because if I hear one more person say, can you copy me? Or is there anyone with us? I swear to God, I'm going to scream. So you guys can feel free to hit me when I do it, because I so know I'm going to do it.
I mean, it's the warm up, right? Like, you introduce yourself, and you're like, hi, are you here?
It's a bit rude just to start to someone without saying hello.
Throw something at me. Can you push me on the stairs? You can change it up.
Yeah.
Can you make me a cocktail?
You have to. It's a bit like just
what? If I was a ghost and someone walked in and said, is there anyone with us? I'd go, oh, Christ, here we go. Honestly, I would. Mm-hmm. I mean, Tash says the perfect thing. Yeah, I totally agree with introducing yourself, right? But I also agree with holding EVP sessions, only having a couple of people in attendance. I mean, if I was faced with a bunch of strangers I don't know wanting me to perform like a bloody performing seal in a circus and do things, or knock on wood, or slam a door, I'd be like, who the bloody hell are these people demanding that I do these things?
Absolutely. And since Adam was a baby, basically, in fact, since the Fox sisters in the 1800s, that's how long people have been asking spirits to knock or rap on the door or do that. Literally since the 1800s. And it's just like, no, we need to, it clearly doesn't work. Or if it never works to the point where you can definitively state, yes, that knocking is a definite response to me, because it could stop 20 seconds later and we don't hear it again. It's very, very rare that the session, the communication continues more than a few seconds. And I think 99.9% of the time, at least, that it is pure coincidence.
I agree with you.
And I was thinking today about why we keep doing these things. Why do we keep doing the same things and it's not working? But I think it's about structure of an investigation. Like, we can't go in and say, hey, guys, what are we going to do tonight? Oh, I don't know. We can't do this and we can't do that and we can't. I mean, if we're lucky enough to get into a venue, we tend to follow the same structure. And that's where I think all investigators need to start, as you said, Tracey, thinking outside the box. It's not working what we're doing. It hasn't worked.
What's that old saying? If you keep, it is crazy, Barbara. If you keep
doing the same
things, you're going to get the same results.
Exactly. Yeah. But I could understand why we do that. I hate small talk, but when you're at a networking event for work or social, whatever, you don't know the people, everyone goes to their go-to. Like, how's the weather? What do you do for a job? So do you think when we do our investigation that we should walk in there and say, can you make me a cocktail? Can you make me a sandwich?
Well, I did that. with the chef at the Waikino, didn't I? The cook.
We did. We tried that. And
We banged on the counter and rang the bell, and poor Barbara levitated because she wasn't ready for me banging on the bell. And I said, "Grubs up! I'm hungry. I need some food. Cook me something, please."
she said,
Chop,
Yeah, she said,
yeah.
"Diddly squat." And Tony just said, "Has the group ever thought about visiting an old historic Māori war battles ground? My
Yep.
point being that there would have been multiple deaths and consequently potentially multiple spirits." Yep, I have actually, Tony.
There are sites that we go to though. Like I've been to a few, like around Nursery, and just down the road from me in Pocono's Queen's Redoubt, where was where the wars were stopped. So yeah, we have been around them and done. I've been to a redoubt not far from me. There was no fighting there, but people did drown in the river.
There is a really good one. A very popular, commonly known one across the road from a certain hotel that we were going to visit in the Waikato. That's a very commonly known one. There's also a few around Thames here. So yes, Tony, it's something that we have thought of, but there is also the fact that it's not particularly culturally sensitive.
Yeah. And that one that you're talking about at the hotel that we were going to visit, there was actually quite a large battle that ensued there because they've got the graveyard right across the road from the hotel.
Yeah.
Is this the same place that won't
we had
let you
lunch
stay anymore to investigate?
What's that?
Another place? Is it like a hotel that you can't stay in anymore, but they were discouraging people from investigating?
No, you can still stay there.
Okay, I'm thinking of a different place.
It was where we had lunch, Tash.
Oh yeah. I know the place, and I've walked around the graveyard.
I've been up to the
and I've stayed there.
Yeah.
And we did investigations, but we didn't pick up anything at all interesting. Even when we were speaking English and some of us were speaking some te reo, we didn't pick up anything. So, but that was just one night.
Yeah, exactly. I have a friend who they investigated there. She's from another team here in New Zealand, of course, and she got a couple of interesting EVPs. Just saying.
Oh, okay. What, in the hotel or at the cemetery or
at the battlefield?
At the battlefield, yeah. I've heard a few things about the battle. I mean, I've been up to the Par site. I think it's the Par site, or is it the battlefield?
The Par site, yeah. It's just up the road.
Yeah.
We are quite restricted on where we can go in regards to that as well, because you can get in a lot of trouble. Even if you do ask permission, there will be still people within the tribe or the iwi that'll disagree with you, and then you will have to pull all your footage and because it's they don't want us to wake up their ancestors and things like that and be disrespectful. Yeah.
So I guess we've touched a bit on camera stuff. We've touched a bit on visuals. We've touched on the actual line of questioning that's used during EVPs, that we really need to start being a little bit more inventive and thinking outside of the box with our line of questioning instead of the same old boring horse twaddle that we normally speak. And hey, we're all guilty of it. So I'm not pointing the finger at anybody, because if anyone, I'd be pointing the finger towards my own chest.
I was going to say, Tracey, I mean, one of the best investigations, although we didn't get a lot of actual EVPs out of it, but there did seem to be voices in the room and things happening around us, was at a certain hotel, different hotel completely across the road from a large river. And when I was telling the boys off, do you remember that one?
Yes.
And it was
Yeah,
definitely
and
things happening.
I think
And there
we
was
might need to do a revisit there. Maybe Paranormal Pals can go and do an investigation there,
yeah. But
because it is a very interesting place.
that wasn't your normal EVP session, and I decided
No.
I was going to tell these people off for something they'd done. And I think that they certainly, there were things happening around us and
There was, yeah,
noises, and even though nothing was actually caught on our audio recorders, we were hearing things, and not just us. It was actually a public event. And so, the people who were attending also were hearing things as well, but it didn't transfer to our audio recorders.
No, even that breath in my ear that the person who was standing next to me heard as clear as a bell.
Yeah.
Never showed up on the recorders or the cameras.
Is this bringing us back to the fact that maybe we're just not
meant to
know?
You know, I don't know about you guys, but the longer I do this, the more I am coming to that conclusion that I just don't think we are meant to know. And the times that we do catch something, or somebody, not we, but us and other people do catch something, I think it just flukes. Like, can you imagine if there's a gatekeeper and someone actually gets through and then they go, why, you're not meant to be doing that, mate, and they shut the door?
Yeah.
Do you know
Could
what I mean?
Could it be like, the theory on Bigfoot, interdimensional and also cloaked? So even if we had the technology to pick them up, for some reason we can see them with our eye, but we can't pick them up with our technology because they somehow cloak.
Yeah. I believe that it definitely, paranormal occurrences could be interdimensional beings. I think it's definitely a possibility, and that they either it's a glitch in the system, or they come purposely, and they lose their cloak for a minute or a few seconds, and we see them.
I think
about it.
And I also think that what we tend to forget is that the other world, or the Summerlands, or whatever you want to think, the spirit world, is another dimension in itself. So when we're talking about, and we are going to talk about parallel dimensions and other worlds in a later podcast, it's a big one, so that might actually have to be in 2 parts because it's quite a discussion point. Excuse me.
Well, it's like when you watch Star Wars and it says in a galaxy far, far away. It could be in the same universe, but they're so far away that we can't see them. But they could be on the same timeline we are, just somewhere else in the universe.
Well, all the dimensions are on top of each other, next door to each other, and all the rest of it. What we're separated by and what keeps us apart is a mystery of the universe, isn't it? Excuse me.
Yeah, like black hole. They've shown that black holes don't just suck stuff in. It actually spits out stuff.
But then is it different dimensions or is it different times? And that is time. Maybe. Is that a different dimension as well? Because time travel is definitely a possibility as well. And we touched last time with the doppelgangers, didn't we? About perhaps time travelers and.
Well, time. I don't know. And I think maybe we're getting a little bit off track. But we do that anyway. So I'm just going to be the circus. Yeah. Okay. No, I can't, Tony. Barbara doesn't let me smoke when I'm doing podcasts, so I have to wait until after the podcast for my ciggy.
Barbara's a taskmaster, so we can't drink wine, but she's got wine in her cup. I'm just joking. This is
Nice
just
one,
water.
Josh. Nice
It's
one,
not
Josh.
joking.
And I'm just drinking juice. I'm being a
And there's
very good
vodka
lass.
in Tasha's water bottle.
It's got straight vodka in it. Yeah, we know, Tash.
Or moonshine? Who knows?
Moonshine.
I'm from the Waikatos. It's probably moonshine.
Yeah.
Probably. So I guess what we're trying to say is what we're doing and what has been getting done. If we look at, excuse me, if we look at the where the paranormal field, and again, we're going to hold another podcast on this, paranormal pioneers or pioneers in the paranormal field. Great idea, Barbara.
Yeah.
But if we look at where we started or where the field started and we look where we are today, we really haven't come a long way, have we?
I was shocked when I started actually looking into it. It's ridiculous. Harry Price was basically doing what we are doing now. We've come nowhere.
No, we haven't.
And I do believe we've got it so wrong. There's something we're completely missing. And I think it's obvious, but we can't see it. It's like right in front of our eyes and we can't see it.
Well, can't see the forest for the trees type of situation. I think it's a combination of things that we've got wrong, which means that we're way off track because we've got all these little things wrong, which make the whole shebang, off kilter, what we're trying to achieve. But I think there's so many areas where we've got things wrong. I think, and I'm not going to call them theories because theories call for hypotheses, and do you know what I mean? And the hypotheses are studied and tested, and then we get a theory from that. And we don't have that in the field. What we have is some ideas that have been chucked around pretty much that don't have any theory behind it at all. So to say that, this is a theory in the field, and I'm guilty of it, we're all guilty of it, but we know that it's actually not a theory.
Or just something some TV investigator did once and everyone thought it looked like fun.
Yes.
We all have theories. I mean, just because you can't test for it doesn't mean it's not a theory. Like, I see investigating, like, the first time Newton was like, gravity. He couldn't see it. He couldn't prove it. He just saw the end result of it. Like electricity. How do you explain to someone who's never seen electricity before? How do you detect it?
Yeah.
How do you know it's there? Like, so we're trying different things to try and see something, but we either are missing it completely, the point completely, or we just don't have the technology yet to see it. So
I think we're all stumbling down the same path, and some people are 2 steps to the left and some people are 2 steps to the right. But what we actually need to be is 1.5 miles to the left or 1.5 miles to the right to actually be making some form of headway. And we're just not there. And I think we're all in our little boxes and we get so comfortable with what we're doing that we are frightened to step out of that. And we don't maybe even put enough thought behind what we're doing because we're just using the same old things that we've always used since day dot. Yes, we've refined it. We've got better at it since we started investigating.
A lot more gadgets that do the same thing, basically.
Exactly. But we are still really perpetuating the same cycle of we're doing the same thing, using the same tools in the same way, asking the same boring questions and getting exactly the same results, which is
Zilch.
Nothing.
Virtually nothing. Maybe the occasional
virtually nothing.
That gets us all excited, but basically nothing,
So you're saying that I need to build a mini soon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
I could.
Oh,
I did
yes,
work in a
I
place
am.
that made electromagnets for synchrotrons. So I could probably do it if I wanted to.
I
probably get in trouble with the government.
I was wondering, it's like, okay, the Philadelphia experiment. Now, could we try something like that, only in a smaller version of it?
like teleportation.
Well, yeah, it's
I'm sure they've done something similar with bananas or something, not something living, but something that's organic.
something organic, something that wasn't going to fuse in my hand, or
Yeah, you don't want to be scrambled and unscrambled inside out.
No, now we're going into quantum mechanics and quantum physics now.
Yeah.
Good lords.
But that's another end of the spectrum. Like, if we are using the same equipment, who's using like CERN to find ghosts? Probably nobody.
No one.
Who's using what? Sorry.
And they pull all that data, like trillions and trillions and trillions of data per like nanosecond. But they're not looking. They're looking for specific things, but not ghosts, or maybe subatomic particles make up ghosts, the ones we don't know of yet.
Using it wrong. They should be looking for ghosts.
They should be firing electrons or photons at the stairs where the lady in white has walked down.
They've got it wrong. We know.
But that doesn't work very well in air. You need to do it in a vacuum.
Something else that I really believe is that I don't think we're actually going to make real progress while all the teams are just doing the same old thing. I think it's going to have to be a collaboration, It's not going like what we've got here, three different teams or people from three different teams working together for the same cause, with three different ideas and different people, but we come up with the same idea, like we've all come to that realization. What we're doing is wrong. And I'm sure it's almost like the that old kids story, the emperor has no clothes. Like, come on, investigators, get with it. Tell us we're doing it wrong. Tell everyone we're doing it wrong. We need to put our heads together and start to think about what we can do to change it.
Yeah, we do. And Tony, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the SLS camera, and it's a gimmick.
Yeah, it's a gimmick. It supposedly can detect people, but like cameras can glitch and everything can glitch.
And it detects it depends on what particular SLS camera you're using or what componentry is involved in it, but it detects a lot of things, like it'll detect the corner of a cabinet and it'll put a stick person on it because it's detecting the corner of a bookcase. So it gives out a lot of false positives. So we tested one for a while. Our tech manager made us one, and we tested it for a while, and then he refused to ever bring it out again and said, "No, I'm dismantling it. It's rubbish."
Tony, I will get Stu to make us one, and we can have a play with it, okay? And you can see
you can buy
how
one.
it works.
Yes, PlayStation 2. You can buy an SLS camera that was with PlayStation 2. That detects you.
Who makes all sorts?
Who likes to make these things? So
he likes to make things. So
you just need to make a power supply, and you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what we need, a decent power supply. Photon pack.
I'll just talk to Nikola Tesla.
Nikola.
Good power supplies.
But yeah, we definitely need to start looking at what we're doing. And you know what a lot of it is? A lot of it is garnered from these television programs.
Yes.
And people learning off the television programs because it worked for them.
Yeah.
Well, sure it did, because they had people behind the camera throwing stones that you didn't see. They had someone else slamming doors that you didn't see. So you can't actually, anything that you see on TV, you really do have to take with a tiny, tiny pinch of sea salt, because 9 times out of 10.
Tablespoon. Let's face it, it's a tablespoon, okay?
Okay, tablespoon. Tablespoon. It's done for the cameras, because we've got to have stuff happening if we're having a TV program, because otherwise who would watch? But
It's
what
not
it's
just-
done,
It's not just TV programs, it's like groups that post stuff.
yes,
Like you can see it, you're like, So sort of bringing in the collaboration thing, like there's not a lot of collaboration between groups at all anywhere. There's all this turf and territory, this is my location. You can't investigate here for whatever reason. But maybe if we could collaborate, we would see similarities between potential evidence and then be able to figure out, oh, well, we could detect this with this or that. Like something might keep on happening across the board.
Exactly.
I agree.
But that's not going to happen anytime soon. There's too many beefs and there's too many jerks.
And way too many egos,
That's it.
Jerks.
That's
jerks
down
that propose and think they know everything. When they actually, nobody knows. If someone says they know everything about everything, they know nothing.
They know nothing about everything.
Charlatan and a fake. So I always say, even at work, I know nothing about nothing. Just because, you don't know the whole situation.
And I mean, we don't know what exactly we are doing that is wrong, but I actually think it's a combination of things that we're doing that is wrong, that has taken us so far away from the possibility of being able to be able to definitively say, look, this is evidence, but I don't know what is right. And Barbara brought up the point, and you've reiterated it, about collaboration. That's the only way we're going to come to some conclusions, is to talk to each other, share knowledge, listen to what's worked for some groups and what hasn't worked for other groups, try the way that they investigate, they try the way that you investigate, and see where you can come to some form of stuff that seems to work, I mean,
I think before we get to that point, all investigators need to be trying different things, because at the moment we're all doing the same thing over and over, and everyone's, like I said, it's basically, we're still all doing basically what Harry Price was doing.
We are.
100 years ago.
We've come nowhere, really, when you think about it.
Let's do the opposite. Let's go and do the opposite of what he was doing.
But then we get to the well, what do you do then? You go on an investigation, and what the hell do you do? I'm not doing, EMF. I'm not doing any audio. I'm just going to sit here. It's like we've got to come up with things we can do.
You might have to explain who Harry Price is.
But do we have to come up with things that we actually have to do? A lot can be said for what I would term as passive investigating. And that is basically just sitting there and making observations and seeing what happens.
Oh, yes.
That's harsh, Barbara.
Oh, Google him, Barbara. That's really unhelpful.
He's my brother, okay? I can say that to him. Who's Harry?
I think I've lost a follower now.
Tony, that is probably the best idea, is to Google Harry Price. You'll probably get more sense out of Google than you'll get out of us three.
I don't know. You should ring your sister.
Ring your sister. She'll tell you.
My phone will go in a minute now. You know that.
You'd have to leave.
So we've come to the conclusion that all of us have come to the conclusion that what we're doing isn't the way to be doing it, because we're doing the same shit and getting the same shit, if you want to put it like that, which is really very little results.
I just had an idea.
Oh, good. Do tell.
There's trouble.
Okay. I don't know how many of you know about the Philip experiment, okay? Now, I've been thinking a lot about what we're doing wrong, and it's like, we as individuals, no, Collier, don't encourage him. as individuals, or my phone's in the bedroom, that's okay. Are we as individuals, or we collectively, because there's so much on TV these days, are we producing some of these paranormal occurrences?
Well, I mean, I firmly believe the school of thought with regards to poltergeist activity, that the poltergeist has a focal point, and the focal point is a person, and it's normally that person that's creating the poltergeist activity. We don't know how, but it seems to be centered around that if they leave the house and go and stay at somebody else's house for the weekend, that activity will follow them and live at that other person's house for the weekend. If they go to work, it'll follow them to work. If they go to school, it'll follow them to school. So that person is manifesting what was once thought of as an external entity, if you like, but they're actually manifesting something. Psychokinesis, bursts of psychokinesis, quite probably, when they're under duress or stress or anxiety to any high degrees.
There's I'll bring up kindred spirits again, because I went to the Oliver House. That's similar to that, but not a poltergeist per se, but something that takes on the form of whatever people ask it to be. So if you ask something, it's a boy, it's suddenly a boy. If you ask it's a girl, it's suddenly a girl. So it's the zombie boy thing. So they actually went out and wrote a completely different story, which they told people coming in to investigate, and apparently people were picking up that new story and not zombie boy. So it's sort of like it manifests what you ask it to, or what you expect to see.
That to me is either a collective consciousness creating a and yes, I've seen that. I'm going to get to that in a minute. Oh my God, I've lost my train of thought. It's like the collective consciousness creating a thought form. You can create a thought form, or an egregore, if some people like to call it. We used to do it a lot of time in the magical orders that I was involved with. We used to create thought forms constantly to do certain things. And it's very, when you know what you're doing, it's very easily done. When you don't know what you're doing, it can be like a mass bunch of people putting all their energy to that. It was once, one of my teachers once said to me, Mickey Mouse, yes, he lives on the astral. Because so many people have created this Mickey Mouse. They've seen the cartoon. It's in their heads. They've created it. They've put energy towards it. So, yes, that thing lives up in the astral somewhere. So all these beings do. Yeah, thanks, Tash. Tracey and Tash, have you ever used candles in a still environment as an alternative detection method? Barbara was excluded because she would probably tell me to Google it again.
She's been banished. She has been banished.
Banish the woman.
Who needs a brother?
And I just want to say good evening, Stephen.
Stephen's there.
He's apologising for his tardiness. He was doing the dad's taxi thing. So I
hope you charged them Uber rates.
Yeah, candles, not in a lot of the places that we investigate, because they're historical places. And yeah, one little drop of a burnt off wick on their floors and it would go up in flames. So
a lot of our places, as I said in the chat, is irreplaceable. They're also quite drafty, so you probably wouldn't be able to keep a candle going. You probably have to light something in the fireplace, which would likely burn down these places, and we wouldn't be invited anywhere else.
Tone, next time we'll do a candle experiment, okay?
Does it have to be a real candle, or can we have one of those fake LED ones?
Electric ones.
Yeah.
One of those electric ones. The thing that when we're talking about candles, using candles in that respect, there's a lot of components of the candle making session. For instance, the candle itself. I mean, I've seen it used so many times, and the candle flickers, and everyone's like, "No, we've checked for drafts. There's no drafts." And the candle flickers, and they go, "Oh, look, it's answering our question." you know what that actually means? It normally means that there's too much paraffin in the actual concoction of that candle. Or if the candle burns itself out, well, your wick is actually too small for the diameter of the candle. So there's lots of things like that come into play. So using candles is about as useful as using flashlights to get responses. Using the flashlight trick that has been debunked decades ago, where you just twist the flashlight till it's just disengaging and put it down and ask them to turn it on and off. If the answer is yes, for instance, turn the flashlight on. That wouldn't.
Also, using candles as you're opening yourself up to actually like human manipulation too. We used a candle just as something to do actually during a public event quite some years ago, and there was one woman, and I mean, she insisted she wasn't breathing hard on it, but she was definitely. And so, yeah, I mean, you get so many false positives from it because people just want for there to be ghosts, you know, like it doesn't matter if they know that they're producing this false positive. They want for everyone to share their excitement and to think that there's a ghost present.
I'll never forget.
So hear me out. Do we have to pull a Tennessee Wraith Chasers and build a giant perspex box and put it in there, and then it'll burn for a certain period of time until it runs out of oxygen?
Well, it depends on how good the candle maker was.
And then no one can blow on it or spit on it or
because
the
candle's
Faraday cage, Tash.
But it's made out of perspex. Faraday cages don't work very well. I know that from one place I worked.
That wasn't true. Are you talking about me?
To me with a mirror, and yes, that was you, Tracey. You did that.
Oh, how dare you?
So you just didn't want to share the wine, huh? No, I never want to share my wine. It's nothing personal, honestly.
Now, Tasha, that's exactly what we were talking about, though, wasn't it? Like, it's like changing what we do. Instead of just, no, candles are useless, because there's this and this. Yes, Tasha, can you build us a perspex cage for a
candle?
Yeah, I'll have to buy some and I can glue it together. It won't be a big deal. How about I just go budget and I just buy a Sistema container?
That would work. Yeah, and maybe and drill a hole. I've probably got a Sistema container. And drill a hole in it, and a couple of holes in the side that won't let a draft through. And but we'll let some air through and see if we can get a spirit to manipulate it.
Well, it's worth a shot. Anything's worth a shot as long as we're stepping out of the box and trying something new.
Okay. And it's very easy to poo-poo ideas, but we shouldn't be doing that. We should be grasping them and trying them at investigations and doing it, because this is why we've been doing it. This is why we've got no results, because we're like, that won't work. But hey, it might.
There will be no naked investigating. We are not going that far out of the box, okay?
Who suggested that?
Nobody
is.
I am
nobody is ready.
I am putting the kibosh on it now because somebody says it.
Okay, but hey, if it's dark,
no, Barbara.
Not me. I'm talking you.
On Barbara. Barbara's like, yeah, you too. You can go around in the nude, and I will just watch or something similar, which is very odd.
Oh no, Colette's gone to vomit.
Oh dear.
Oh my God. No, sorry guys.
No,
left
the building and Stephen's thinking about his fish tank. And Tony's just gone well quiet, mate. He's gone well quiet.
I know. He's like...
The problem with the fish tank is it's not really portable. It's fragile. So we could probably do a big container. I'm sure I might have something here. And then we can run the session for a certain amount of time. Like we can figure out how long you can run the session for. I watched the Tennessee race chases because they're funny, but they did try different ways of trying to capture a spirit. So maybe we can jazz it up with a mirror or something in there. I don't know.
And we don't have to do it inside because, I mean, let's face it, we can just find even a porch or somewhere. Because we said, oh, no, it won't work because, a lot of the buildings are historic. But it doesn't have to be inside either. Or it could be like in a bathtub or something like that. Well, there's ways to get around that as well.
You'd still probably need something around it to stop the environment blowing it out.
Oh, totally. By all means, use the fish tank or
I was actually going to say something, but then after my last comment, it's probably going to come out like really pervy. But has anyone got a nurse's uniform?
That's very pervy. No.
Like an old-fashioned one or like scrubs?
Well, either or. I'm prepared to try anything.
You can buy scrubs online.
Just gets better and
sure.
better.
Oh, sorry.
A nurse's
Tracy, we don't need to know what your Temu orders are.
We've descended into madness. Oh, sorry.
We do this.
There is a reason why I'm saying this.
I know. You're talking about trigger objects and things. Yes. I know exactly where you're going.
I'm thinking about doing an ERQ session.
Okay.
We could operate.
That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about doing an...
Stephen. We could operate.
Who's got a mole that looks sketchy? We can just cut it out.
A circumcision?
Or a vasectomy. I don't know. I'm already neutered, so there's nothing really left to do surgery on me. But you two might have something. I don't know.
Seriously, there was a reason why I said that. That came out totally wrong. Has anyone got a nurse's uniform? And I don't even know what came out afterward but it was worse.
Got ripped last time. Mine got ripped the last investigations.
But I'm talking about doing an ERQ, but taking it as far as we can take it with regards to the ERQ, like doing it properly.
Who's sacrificing a finger?
Like, I don't mean we're going to cut someone's finger. I mean, let's get someone dressed up in some scrubs and someone in a nurse's uniform. Stephen, you can wear the nurse's uniform.
Day.
Hang on, Tony's got a sensible question.
Yes.
What's everyone's opinion on all living beings having a spirit, i.e. cats, dogs, horses, or whatever? I totally agree with that. I used to work as a vet nurse. And
I don't believe in the religious tribe because we're all made of energy, right? And supposedly ghosts are energy based. So where does the energy go when you die?
Absolutely. I have put animals to sleep, and 1 minute I'm getting something off that thing, and the next minute it's a piece of meat on a slab. Literally, it's like a light just boom goes off, and that's it, gone. So, and there's nothing there.
Yeah,
there's nothing there anymore. It's like something has left. So yeah, I totally agree that all living things have a spirit.
Yeah. I saw our cat after she had passed away. I absolutely saw her.
When I said, Stephen, do you want to wear a nurse's uniform? He said it wouldn't be the first time.
That's fine. My God. So we've got a an option for our investigation. We got Stephen. We just need to find his size. Put on a mask and some gloves and give him a bed.
Well, the masks aren't going to be hard to come by, are they? Let's face it, we've all got them now. Still, I've got boxes and boxes here. So if I'm just someone remind me to pack some. But yeah, getting some scrubs might be a bit difficult though.
You could even do like really, really old school when they didn't have. They basically had an apron over a.
Yes, I wondered about that. Yeah, about they didn't have scrubs back in the day.
Or nurses' uniform.
Doctors would have had suits on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do some Googling of that era and see what it comes up with visually wise.
Okay.
It might be quite hilarious.
But at least I'll be wearing clothes, all right? So
I hope so.
I think we need to start stepping out the box and doing some things. And if it what? You've got some forceps and a scalpel. Hey, I wouldn't mind your
I've got a scalpel, but it's a modern one as well. Yeah.
But that's okay. That doesn't matter.
Stabby
That would
webby.
be great.
Shall I bring a handsaw as well?
Well, why not? Why not? Can you
maybe
imagine
a hammer to do ortho?
Rocking up to the place and setting up all the equipment, and out comes the hacksaw and out comes the scalpel. I can imagine exactly what's going to go down there.
And we've got candles for a sacrifice.
For the people listening, in case you hadn't realised, our next investigation is actually at a hospital.
An old hospital.
I wasn't even going to say that much.
It used to be a hospital.
And it's in New Zealand.
And we're going to be doing different things like we are. We're actually going to do a live from it, actually.
Yes.
A bag of blood.
A bag of blood, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I won't say what I'm thinking. So no, we're looking forward to actually doing a live from that investigation, and we'll be able to tell you about what we're doing that's going to be different too, because it is going to be different from our the usual run of the mill investigations, because they're just not working.
And we'll be doing a bit outdoors as well with this one. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually quite amped for it. I'm quite excited about this.
My leave's been approved.
Yay!
Well. So basically, I said, I will be in this place.
And I'm actually quite excited too, because of course Stephen's going to come and join us.
Yeah.
From Central Hawke's Bay Paranormal. So
and
Stephen and Corey.
Is Corey coming too?
Yes, Corey's coming as well. So there's going to be 8 of us in total. So we've got quite a few investigators that are going to be toddling around the place, and we'll just split ourselves up.
And a dog.
And a dog, yeah. Okay, and our K9. So we're stepping out of the box.
Yeah.
No K9s have been used before, but not very often. So we're going to be using one of our K9s over the course of the weekend, because we're there for a couple of nights. And I might actually have another investigation, guys. Sorry, but there's another place too. But we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully it's close to home.
Hi, Jessica. How are you this evening?
Oh, it's nothing. That's my niece.
I'm glad she missed all the stuff.
Hey, Jess, Tony's here somewhere.
I think he's given up on us. He's decided we're all absolutely bonkers. Oh no, there he is.
Here.
He's still here.
You could Jessica can explain to Tony who Harry Price is.
Oh yeah.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something then. Oh no, I mean that same weekend that we're down there.
Okay, so it's 2 different locations?
Yeah, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
No.
Oh, well, I'm going to do a second location on the second night. If I secure it, I will be going to that second location.
No.
Is that a theatre perchance?
Possibly.
Okay.
There's actually 2
what
other
you're
locations.
talking about.
2 investigations and 2 nights is too. Sorry, guys. This is like our housekeeping.
Step out of the box. We've done
Barbara's
it before.
going to bed. She's not. She's just going to go to bed.
This is genuinely entertaining. Jess, this is
Right.
genuinely entertaining.
So we got a little bit off track. Is there anything else
A little.
about how we are currently investigating that potentially we could improve apart from collaboration, different EMF?
EMF. Yeah, EMF. Like all of our devices, so many devices measure EMF, alert us to EMF. You know what it means? There's EMF.
Hooray!
It doesn't mean there's a ghost. It just
And it
means
doesn't tell you
high-level
where the EMF's coming from.
fields.
Sorry, Barb, I just spoke over you then. Sorry, what?
I was just saying, and it just high EMF just means that there's high electromagnetic fields. It doesn't tell us there's a ghost. There's a million, or maybe not a million. There's many different reasons why there would be EMF. The theory is that if there is high EMF, it could be a spirit or a ghost or whatever you want to call them, an energy, trying to manifest. Or it could be a sorry, that's probably a little bit misleading. What it apparently means is that there is a spirit. Well, there's an energy there. Absolutely. There's no two ways.
Yep.
That is definitely right. There
I
is
agree
an
with that.
energy.
I
But
agree with that.
does that mean there's a ghost there? No, not at all. And so
It could mean that you've got faulty wiring in your wall. It could mean that the chiller tray that's got all the beers in it is putting off a whacking big load of EMF. It could mean that the cell phone tower that's half a K down the road, you're picking that up. It could mean that there's someone with a walkie-talkie near you and setting off your EMF detector. If you've got a dodgy EMF detector, like some of them are, there's a whole bunch of different things that could account for high EMF.
A power box on the other side of the wall. You know, that will also disturb, as I've found during a couple of investigations, that will also disturb the sleep of anyone sleeping against that wall.
Yes.
So
and the reason for using EMFs in the first place, or EMF detectors in the first place, was not about, and this is where it's become really bastardized over time. It's not about the fact that ghosts are thought to put off EMF, or that EMF is present when ghosts are trying to manifest. What it was used for, because there was another theory that high EMF can interfere with the firing synapses of the brain, particularly, I believe it's your frontal cortex. Now, that can include you having hallucinations.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now that theory has fallen out of favor. And the scientific community says there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to support that claim. So all these things are just, it's like people are throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks and everyone's going to run with it. And that's what's been happening in the field. Literally.
But I mean, from a physics perspective, to have EMF, you need energy. And then the other theories are that ghosts are energy, but that might not be true. That might not be energy at all.
We don't know.
Could be a gelatinous blob that we can't see.
My Mel meter I love because of the ambient thermometer on it. That's pretty much the only reason why I use that.
I like my EMF detector because I can go around and check if there's any EMF, rogue EMF from bad wiring. Someone microwaving something and the microwave leaking. Because often I check. That's one way to check your EMF is working is we turn on the microwave and put it outside.
Yeah.
It gives off a lot of EMF.
I've tested mine and I've got nothing that comes off mine. However, I got 180 on my EMF recorder when I tested someone's oven.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yep.
Faulty oven, surely.
Yep. And it was ancient.
High
The oven was
current.
absolutely ancient.
The oven wouldn't be faulty. Ovens have
The
high current. The
Yeah.
wiring wouldn't be faulty. It's got
Okay.
high current. They run off their own circuit because they draw so much current. So when you have current going through a wire, you produce EMF.
But every oven doesn't do that. I mean, I
shouldn't say oven, stove top.
Stovetop.
It was a stove top with an oven underneath it. You know, the old standalone ones.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was from the 1970s.
Was it the one with the ring burners on the top?
Yes. Yep.
The way they work is they put current through those. So it's a giant wire.
Yep. Well,
So
I rest my case.
So if someone's cooking sausage rolls, you might detect the EMF from the oven or the microwave.
So, I mean, and this thing was ancient. It was absolutely, like, honestly, I've never seen an oven still in use that was that flaming old, apart from a actual wetback.
Wow.
But, I mean, as I say, that's come out of favor. So all this stuff about EMF, and then when you do get the EMF, you can't tell where it's coming from unless you've got a GQ EMF meter, where it does give you 8 times out of 10, it will tell you it's a radio tower, or it will tell you it's Wi-Fi. It will actually give you the answer to why it's picking up the EMF based on what side.
You can actually figure it out. Depending on the level and the frequency.
Yeah.
You can figure it out.
Mean, what about vibration? Vibration detectors. I mean, that's all well and good, but you have got geothermal. I mean, using a vibration detector in Rotorua would be a waste of your time, wouldn't it?
You don't even have to have geothermal. You can be in an old building that's settling and it'll set it off.
Absolutely.
Cars going past, anything.
Essentially, they're useless because there's too many false positives, like EMF.
Yeah. Motion detectors.
I've never had one really go off, except when it's had a flat battery.
Well, we're going to be doing a bit of testing with some motion detectors.
Shall I bring in my one? You know, I've got one that I think it's IR. You know, in the dairies, it goes bing bong.
Oh no! Please no.
Mine doesn't say, and mine, I've got 3 of them, and we're just going to have a camera on them because they make no sound. Barbara, it's okay. It's okay, Barbara. They make no sound. The light just comes on. All right, that's it.
Okay.
I've got a motion sensor light. Like it's not a tripwire. It's just a basic one that can be triggered by motion.
Yep. Well, that's what I'm bringing along. So we'll do some.
Mine's a very budget one that you put under your cabinet. So when you get up in the middle of the night, it just comes on.
That's
but I can bring I've got one that talks in Chinese. I think my one has different chimes, so I might be able to do.
No. We had enough of that at Larnack Castle. No.
Nothing that makes.
I put it in like a non-trafficking area with my camera on it. It'll be fine. It sounds like you got PTSD from one of these.
I was actually thinking that. I think I do.
I remember using it at a particular place in Pukekohe, and it never went off unless we walked through it. And we had cameras on it, so we knew when people walked through it. So,
as long as it's not in a high traffic area, in the hallway by the toilet.
No. What was that, Barbara?
Ghosts. I honestly don't know. It was my bedroom door.
Oh.
Stu's in the kitchen.
Oh. Is your cat in your bedroom?
Windy. I presume it's windy though. Hang on 1 minute.
Where's
No
she gone there?
cameras,
Oh,
so-
I'm going to check. No, Stephen, you don't need to bring the one that talks in Chinese. Please don't bring the one that talks in Chinese.
I'm not sure. I think mine has different ringtones, so it probably won't trigger you too badly.
I also want to be mindful of sound for, in case.
Other people?
Yes. That's why the motion detectors I've got are just light up ones. So we just need to make sure that we've got a video camera fixed on them. But Barbara's got quite a few video cameras, I think.
Yes, I have. 3 or 4.
Cool. There we go. Stephen said he used it in the old hospital in Waipukurau and a mouse set it off and he was alone, gave him a huge fright.
Yeah. I have no
Tony just said something. He said that this is why he brought up animal spirits. EMF detectors should be going off constantly, picking up all manner of beings, pun intended, dead bird spirits. Well, we're inside and it's at night when most birdies go to sleep in trees, so that probably would
dead mouse spirits,
eliminate that. But yeah, I don't trust EMFs, and I don't think I wouldn't. I mean, I would get another Mel just for the ambient thermometer alone, the ambient temperature thermometer. But that would probably be the only reason I get it. And I know it's got a REM pod on it. I very rarely use my REM because it sucks the battery out of the Mel like crazy. And the next one I get will have vibration on it as well, but I'll probably shut that off and all. Because I really only walk around it with my temperature probe out, my temperature probe hanging out. I've really got to stop talking.
Right. So you're probing.
I'm just
with it hanging out
my probe.
Bringing aliens back into it. Yeah, I have an EMF meter, and
good point, Tony.
You put it. It's stationary. It's also got temperature. So I've had, I'm just trying to remember the name of them, the very expensive box with the EMF, temperature, vibration. What is the name of one of those? Eddy. This is why I have zero faith in those, because when I put my meter down, it hasn't beeped, it hasn't done anything, and all it does is check temperature and EMF. Whereas Eddy could be, beeping, like the EMF light will beep, and it's like, there is nothing there.
Well, you see, my Mel's never gone off, and that's why I love it, because it's never gone off.
Where I've been in places where the EMF is going off on Eddy, but mine is sitting there going, what? Probably because the components aren't shielded properly.
Or
probably set it itself off.
To be calibrated, obviously one of them isn't working correctly. But then again, like if it's not, if it's out by so many milligauss, it's still usable, but you just can't actually rely on it. You can't be certain. It's only an indication of EMF. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, no,
I think it's too many things into one to be useful. I can understand putting in a compact box makes it appealing, but I have my doubts about it. I mean, it's great you can record data, but if the data is bollocks, then you're recording bollocks.
Do you know what? I would rather have a cheap weather station in a room with an external probe that takes the barometric pressure, the humidity, and the temperature of the room than anything else, because we are meant to be there monitoring environmental changes.
I can bring one.
Supposedly. Have you got one?
I've got a cheap one that I use for experiments.
Well, I've got a cheap one. Mum's got one actually, and she bought it, and we got someone around that was a friend of mine, and he set it up and it worked perfectly, and then we turned it off and we went to didn't work again. We couldn't get it to set up properly. So
I've got one, but it doesn't work. Actually, no, I have got one. Yeah.
I've got one that does work. It's currently outside. but it gives you temperature and humidity, but it doesn't give you barometric pressure.
Well, I'll bring the one that Mum's got, and Tash, you'll be able to bloody show me how to work it.
It's only like this big.
Yeah.
Oh, it isn't going to work. No, I've just realised I do have one. Where is it? Okay.
I'll bring it with you, Barb.
Yeah, mine's not fancy.
Yeah.
Mine's
Bring
a
it
very
with you.
basic one. I use it.
Also-
I use it for experiments to just give me an indication on what the humidity is and what the temperature is.
Well, that's cool. So
It's
that'll be
really
three. That'll be three that we'll have. So that'll do us well, because I think we should be using them. I really do.
Also, I'll see if I can calibrate my eddy using this. I'll see if I can get some sort of correlation between the two.
Okay.
You know, we could actually do a barometric tube of sorts.
Could we?
We just need like a tube and some water and maybe color it, and then when we start, we just draw a line, and then you can, with a camera on it, you can see whether the pressure increases or decreases where the water line is.
Tash is going to start building equipment soon. I can see it
I
coming.
was going to say, or we could.
I'm going to make a trip to Bunnings. Yeah, because that's the basic barometric tube, is just, some liquid. I've got one of those Newton ones. I'm pretty sure we have a brass one that does barometric. I'll have to ask my wife.
Oh, cool. Well, let's we're going to have a meeting anyway before we go and sort out.
I'm just wondering whether the people listening might be getting a little bit bored with listening.
Absolutely. We've gone off on a tangent again,
like we do.
Tony, yeah, that's a good point, Tony. Yep, good point. But what was there 100 years ago? Yeah, exactly. EMF should be going off all the time. But that is, of course, if those birdies are coming back from the other world and back into this one, if you want to look at it that way, because they're not there all the time. They transition in and out. So, yeah, maybe. Who knows? That's the problem. No one knows. And as Barbara and I keep saying, the longer we do this, the more we think we are not meant to know.
Yeah.
And the less we know, the more we do this, the less we know.
The more questions come up.
Yep, absolutely. So we've spoken about how we're not getting it right with what we're doing for visuals because of the results.
What if we're doing the right things, but we're not looking at it in the right way?
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that score. I think it's how we're actually perceiving what is occurring when a spirit is there, or what we're being told occurs, and what we have been led to believe is the way to try and discover exactly what's happening. We're just not doing it right. We're not doing it right.
In the wrong place. I can't help but thinking the little snippets we get are just accidental little snippets, and there's something right there that
I agree
we missed.
with you.
And I just wish I could work it out.
Well, the more experimenting that we're doing, goodness knows what we may stumble across, Barbara.
Exactly.
We'll get Tash building. We'll get Tash building a cat eye that can see in that spectrum, and then we'll get her build a dog eye that can see in the dog spectrum of colours.
Glasses, and then we can see what the dog sees, and
absolutely.
Then we'll have
that's
glasses.
what we're going to do.
Well, that's not very hard. Just do the old movie theatre glasses.
Yeah.
With cellophane.
But you don't know that's what a cat sees or a dog sees.
Well, you know what spectrums they see, so you can
know what spectrums
align
they
it with
see.
the colours, because the wavelength and length is just the colour.
I guess it's like, the blind, I heard about Helen Keller, a story about Helen Keller, who put her hand on top of a radio while it was playing a symphony, and she literally saw the music. Even though she was sensing it, she saw the music. And I do wonder whether animals have that kind of sense as well.
People have that. what is it called? It starts with A.
Sorry, what was
People have that where they when they think of a number or letter as they see a color, or when they're singing like songs and stuff, they see it in a like instead of seeing notes, they see a color when they sing the particular notes.
I've never heard of that.
Yes, I have.
Emphasia? Like,
I have, but I can't remember what it's called. You look like you've got a spirit standing behind you, Tash.
Yeah, I probably do.
A shadow person.
I brought it back from the Conjuring House. It's called aphasia.
Aphasia.
Okay.
I think. Oh no, that's something else.
Oh, that's a nice comment, Tony. You know, the funniest thing is that Barbara's got one team running, I've got another team of people running, and then we've got this team here, which was just meant to be a podcast, and it's now we're going off on doing investigations. So I guess we probably are a team to a certain degree.
It's called synesthesia.
Synesthesia.
Oh, that's close.
Synesthesia.
S-Y-N?
Yeah. So when you see different letters or different colors, so different letters and different numbers, you see different colors. So when you read a book, apparently the words are all different colors based on how you perceive it.
I
see in UV.
Hey, I would really like,
impossible.
I would love to get someone with that particular, do you call it a condition, along to an investigation. Imagine that. Like,
what?
Do they see spirits? Do they?
A synthesis person.
A synthesia.
Yeah. I can't get my tongue around that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Someone with that condition. Do they see ghosts? Do they see spirits? Or
that's a good point. But then you're just going to be taking their word for it anyway, just like we take a medium's word for it.
Yeah, just like a psychic's word for it. The stimulus in the sense that triggers. Yeah. Oh, here we go.
Feeling a very strong and involuntary connection. The stimuli and the sense that it triggers. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Apparently people have that.
Interesting.
I don't think I have that.
So what do you guys think about using mediums?
I have used them in the past.
In paranormal investigating.
But it's very hard because most of the medium stuff you see on TV. And they say, oh, we don't know anything about this. But you don't know that if they know or not. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that they're all fake because obviously people have different levels of psychic ability, whether they claim to be psychic or not. Like my example for me is I can put my camera in places and my voice recorders in places, and I tend to pick up something if it's there. I've had some team member replace my camera with their camera, and I've moved it somewhere else. They got nothing.
you got something
else. So it's kind of like the different cameras as well. It wasn't the same camera. It wasn't the same. I used to have 2 voice recorders. Now I've got 1. But it was quite hilarious just to look on their face.
With mediums, I agree with Tasha there. It really, I mean, you've got mediums and you've got mediums. And I think that so often mediums feel the pressure to perform that they'll literally make stuff up. Having said that, I have a friend who is a medium, and she's been uncanny at times. Like when she came to stay here, I think Tracey's heard this story. She was woken up through the night in one of the rooms by a man. And she told us about this. And the next day, she pointed out to this man on a photo in our hallway, on one of the historic photos, and she said, "That's the man I saw." At the time, I didn't know, and I didn't know for several years after that, that man that she pointed out was actually once an owner of the Lady Bowen, and he had lived in that room. He had died in that room that she had been woken up. Even I didn't know that at the time she told me that was the man she saw, you know? And even then, even now, I'm a little bit dubious because it's like, it was dark. How could you know that that was the man? You probably didn't even see him clearly. And that's why I always say, do people see it, or do they use another sense, as I think mediums possibly do? So my opinion of mediums is I don't believe that on an investigation they are of particular use. And sorry, some of my best friends are mediums, but I do believe at times there's something there.
I have to be very careful what I say here. My great-grandmother was a medium, but she would not showcase her talents. Like, she would have to be badgered and harassed to actually do, well, she used to do trance mediumship. So to actually, and it wasn't speaking in tongues or any of that rubbish that you see happening at the spiritualist churches. She just breathed heavily. She went into a trance, and then she spoke like she was half asleep. She was uncannily accurate, apparently, and really well renowned for it in the area that she lived in. But it's not something that she spoke about. It's not something that she ever did. She never did readings for people or, uttered things to people at all. And as I said, she had to be absolutely harassed to do it. But doing it as part of a paranormal investigation, I don't actually vibe with it. And the only reason being is because to my mind, it's like a personal experience. It's not quantifiable. So there's no data surrounding it, and I'm after data. That's what I'm there for, to get data.
That's what Barbara raised, because you have no way to prove what they're saying is correct. Like, you could, and then anything you can research online, that you can find online, then potentially discredits the psychic, because if they know where they're going and they can do research beforehand.
And that has literally happened on TV, hasn't it? On Most Haunted, and a certain medium was fed the incorrect information. And then what do you know? The actual information that he was fed, the incorrect information he was fed, manifested
on the program.
In him being possessed by this person. So, it is. It's very much, you've got to believe the person, and it's not even a case of not believing, but I just, they have to come up with something, and I think sometimes they just make it up.
Jessica asked when are we going on our investigation? We're going at the end of the month, Jessica, 26th and the 27th.
And we're doing a live. We're doing a live from there.
Yeah, we're going to do a Facebook Live. So
and Barbara is, they want to keep it in the family. Like, Tony wants to go. I presume Jessica wants to go. Just bring the whole fun out.
Tony, I know why it happened. It's when Tash puts up a comment on screen, our names will disappear.
Like that.
That doesn't. Oh no.
And then remove that comment, and then it comes back again. So can they not act like a guide dog, such as guiding you to a hot spot to investigate?
Potentially.
Not usually.
I guess it depends on the type of psychic and their abilities, because often the ones you see, they see people, but they don't necessarily see things.
And the problem nowadays is also with the notions that are attached to psychics, because so many have been found to be frauds, any serious paranormal investigator sees that there's an active psychic on a team or an investigation, and straight away all credibility is thrown out the window, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Yeah, I would like to bring up people, I can't remember them specifically, different people, but the people who do mind tricks, where they can figure out your
mentalists.
Your mentalists, they can figure out like your PIN code. I was watching a podcast, I can't remember who was on it, but before the podcast started, supposedly this mentalist wrote down an envelope specific things and the specific answers that the host would give, and then gave him the sealed envelope. And then he asked, like, not very many questions, maybe one or two. And when the host opened up the envelope, just before he opened it up, he asked the third question, which was also in the envelope, and he got all three right, just by reading the person, knowing the person. So I'm not sure if all psychics are actually psychic, or, you know, they do obvious like cold readings.
Cold readings. And there's also a thing called hot reading as well.
Yeah, like mentalists, so they can see how you react, your body reacts to certain questions as a yes or a no answer. Hence why they can guess your PIN number.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to experiment with having somebody come along to an investigation that is psychic and just see them pointing out possible hotspots and see if we get anything there. But I can't say that anything that we would get, we would be able to use, because as soon as we say, oh, we were pointed there by a psychic, that's it. The team loses credibility in a heartbeat, just like that.
And maybe it's just that we're not ready in the paranormal field to actually use psychics at this stage. I have been on investigations where we have used psychics, and honestly, you know, she's like, oh, there's a little girl there and she's got two blonde plaits, and she's holding a little dog and there's a cat sitting at her feet, and we're running around with doing our usual with our EMF and temperature, you know, the thermometers, and taking photos and video, and absolutely nothing is showing. Now, maybe that's what she sees, but at this point, we just have to put that down to personal experience of the psychic. And maybe she's right. But at this stage in the paranormal investigation evolution, we are not ready for psychics, because we're not picking up, we're unable to verify what they are telling us are there, what a psychic is telling us is there.
I mean, if we had a camera that we knew would 100% capture the essence, if you like, of a spirit, if there was one, then that would be a point where it would be great to have a psychic on board and say, there's a guy standing right there. And then we would snap off 50 photos and then we'd capture him in that photo. Great. Yep. The psychics then would have a place within paranormal investigating. But at the moment, they don't. And I think there's a bleed through from the psychic and spiritualist world now is bleeding through into paranormal investigating. Paranormal investigating isn't about finding ghosts. It's about logging data. If I want to be truly honest, that's what paranormal investigating is. It is not about finding ghosts. It's about logging environmental data.
I have my 5 cents on psychics because I've been on one investigation in a location that has been fairly active. We had 2 psychics and they're all going on about this little girl, this little girl, this little girl. And it's like, there's no little girls here. Like, I'm not saying they weren't picking up on a little girl, but again, it was, they came into this building with preconceptions that it was going to be a little girl or children in the house. There's no children in there. Been there multiple times. It's and multiple people have felt a very angry male presence, especially females. I used to call him respectfully Mr. Shadow Man. And I used to talk to him. I said, look, it's me. I'm not going to bother you, blah, blah, blah. And, he didn't tend to bother me. But I know Cal and other female people have been into that location in certain places. They felt very ill and they felt like someone was right behind them. And it was like a very aggressive male presence. But the psychics picked up on children, and I'm like, there is no children in here. Been here multiple times, and it was quite interesting because the activity, we could never capture anything on camera, but most of the stuff we caught was on the voice recorder. And what would happen is you go up into his space, or this entity's space, and they would somehow make noises downstairs. You're like, oh no, someone, like footsteps and stuff. So you run downstairs and you're out of their space. Whereas I'd stay upstairs. I wouldn't go, oh, there's a noise over there, and just start running away. So I used to have this conversation with Mr. Shadow Man, and saying, good one, you've tricked them again. You're not going to trick me.
But turning around and saying that there's kids in there, that's kind of pretty. What's the word I'm looking for?
Cliche.
Cliche. Thank you. Very cliche, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
also, it's interesting because I've never felt like there's children there, but other investigators were like, "Oh yeah, I feel a children's presence," and I'm like, "But you've also felt that heavy, almost dark, angry male presence."
See, that can be the question. Like
it was more psycho. What do they call it? Psychosomatic.
And that is a really good cause, and this is why. And before we start investigating, I'll be telling everybody. But this is why, if you do have a personal experience, don't say anything to anybody on the team. Yeah. Go and speak to your case manager or your lead investigator and say, hey, can I have a word with you? Yep. Off to the side and say quietly, I swear to God, someone just touched me on the shoulder, or I swear I heard a gruff old man's voice, or I swear I just saw a kid disappearing. Don't tell the whole team, because before you know it, everyone's going to say, oh, I heard that too. Yep. I swore I heard a gruff old man. We don't need that. So we need a controlled environment as much as possible.
The problem is the lead investigator was perpetuating that there was a child. So that was the issue.
Shitty
that
lead investigator.
It's the same with EVPs. Like, I won't tell people what I hear. I'll say, hey, I heard something. What did you hear?
Yeah, exactly.
And then when they come back, see if they match up.
Yep, absolutely. Don't ever, ever, ever say to anybody that I've caught an EVP. It says, you go,
like they do on the show, they put this big block letters.
I think I caught something. Can you listen to this for me and tell me what you think?
Yeah.
What do you hear? I don't even say, what do you think it says? Or I try not to. I say, what do you hear? Because it may not, I don't want to perpetuate them in their heads thinking that they're hearing a voice when it actually might just be the scraping of a chair that sounds very familiar, like half a word or something, very similar to half a word. So what do you hear?
Just to reiterate that location, we had been there multiple times and we caught multiple things, but somebody was trying to perpetuate that there were children in the household. So most of the people on the team thought they were like waiting for children and, trying to play children's games and stuff. But that didn't explain the fact that all the females felt like there was something like an angry, aggressive man following them in certain areas of this building. So it wasn't just one experience. It was multiple experiences. Like, I experienced it, but I didn't back down. I wasn't like, oh, that's scary. I had to pack up one of the investigators' equipment upstairs because they didn't want to go upstairs by themselves. They were terrified by this thing. But then that same person with the two psychics going, oh yeah, there's kids in the house. Oh yeah, there's kids. It's like, no. If there are kids, they're playing tricks on you. Whatever's there is playing tricks on you. It's just forming what you think it was. Whereas when I go to a location, I generally don't investigate, don't do heaps and heaps of research. I know where I'm going. I know it's a hospital or jail or whatever, and I know about that much. I don't look up the history, don't look up the dates. I might do it while we're doing communication sessions, but before I go there, I don't do anything that would, basically psychosomatic. I'm going to go in there, I'm going to see a nurse in a nurse's uniform, or I'm going to see a mentally disabled patient, or I'm going to see children in a house.
No preconceived ideas, no confirmation bias.
So I just go in there open-minded, but I'm not the only female that went through that building because the males didn't detect anything, as per usual.
Sorry, Stephen.
But the females felt like someone was stalking them. And it was only females. It wasn't males at all that picked it up on this.
Tony's just brought up a question. Sorry, just to interrupt you there, Tash, but he's been waiting a while. So he says, I know Barb's a hotelier, but what do Tracey and Tash do for a living? Sorry for the random question. I organise people.
People organization.
I'm a people organizer. I work for a I work for an energy company, not a retailer. Sorry, I work for a distribution energy network, should I say? And I organise all the competency and health and safety training for the guys who keep the power on right throughout the Waikato for everybody.
That brings you to me tonight. If I had no power, I wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
I'm an engineer. I do new development, so I do experiments, and I also do compliance because we do food contact packaging. So I design and develop packaging, and I also test it to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do and it doesn't kill or poison anybody.
That's always a good thing.
Which is always good. Because
and soon to be starting to build the equipment for the paranormal podcast team.
I'm just trying to think of the name. They have them on airplanes, but I'm sure I have a barometric. I'll have to talk to Cal and find out where our big brass one is, and I can hang it somewhere.
A different gathering of energy. Yes, yeah.
That can affect investigations as well, because I've been to one site with a whole bunch of people, and then I've returned with one other person, and it didn't have the heavy energy the second time I returned with the other person. Granted, the other person was not there when we originally investigated. I just wanted to pick up some background noise and try and dispel an EVP that I got on 3 different devices with the investigators.
And did you?
No.
Oh.
You couldn't dispel it? You couldn't?
No.
Ah,
Very
interesting.
So I had 2 devices recording with the investigators, and we had multiple cameras and stuff, which all picked up something. And then I went back a couple days later because it was a long weekend, around about the same time that we were recording, and I couldn't dispel it. Like, it wasn't the chickens, it wasn't the train, it wasn't the manufacturing site that puts out infrasound. Yeah. So you can hear the infrasound and you can hear the chickens, and it didn't sound anything remotely like that, and you can hear the trains. So I'm like, okay.
You still got access to this place?
Yeah, it's public. It's a public place. And usually nobody's there at all because nobody really knows about it.
Is it outdoor?
Yes.
Right. Cool.
Very cool.
And it's local, well, practically local to me. Probably not to you guys. You're about an hour away from me, both of you. But it's more local than where we're going. Around investigation.
It's something like 5.5 hours away, or oh my gosh.
Six-ish. I was looking at flights because I'm like, that's quicker to drive to Auckland Airport and get your flight down to drive. And it's only like $89 one way.
Is it?
Yeah, and about 120 or 30 on
It's
the
just
way
all
back.
the equipment on the plane, man.
I know.
It's so expensive.
Well, usually I'm pretty skint on equipment. I pack it up in a backpack.
Well, I normally wrap it up in me. I was going to say wrap it up in me knickers and me suitcase, but that's probably. I'm not. I am so not right tonight.
You're investigating, and it's like, what's that smell?
There's something wrong with me tonight.
They should be clean though. Like when I travel, I travel with spare undergarments, but they're clean. I don't put yucky ones in there. And my equipment's in the same bag.
It smells fishy.
Oh God! If it smells like fish, throw it back.
Okay, hey, we're getting off topic.
Yes. I think we're kind of at the end of our tether and the end of this podcast.
All I'm going to say is it's because I'm tired, all right? I just don't, things just... I have not meant to say anything that I've said tonight.
You say or do can be used as evidence against you.
God.
No.
I knew Tracey would say knickers. Thanks.
Yeah. I didn't even describe what else I had in the bag. I just said I pack very lightly my equipment.
But if you've got anything in your bag, you've got knickers. If you've got nothing else, you've got knickers in there, haven't you?
They're clean ones.
Yeah, clean knickers. There's no fishy cameras around here, Barbara. God. Anyway, I'm going to have to start putting up an R18 sign on this flipping podcast.
Get your camera out when we go.
No one's going to want to touch my equipment when I get there.
We'll know which is your pieces.
Stephen's only an hour away, guys. You know that, right?
Okay.
Really?
Oh, my gosh.
Lucky.
Yeah, we got 5-hour drive, and I hate driving.
And the rest.
I like driving, but we got to be responsible and save the environment. And I think there's 3 of us, maybe 4 of us in the car.
Yeah. So that'll be cool.
There's only 2 in my car.
Oh, just you and Lois?
Yeah,
Where's
just me and Lois.
Where's Lois tonight?
She might be asleep, mate. She gets up at 4 a.m., remember? Well, I think she gets up at 3:30 because she's got to be at work at 4 a.m. So, yeah, but what's I going to say? I was going to say something. I think we've exhausted the actual topic that we were talking about this evening, and some, should I say? TMI. But hey, it's got to be, paranormal investigating. It's got to be fun because it's hellish boring 95% of the time. So you kind of, like have a bit of fun when you're out and about. And then the real stun farts. See, look, I'm fucked up tonight. I really am. The real fun starts when we pack the equipment up at 4 a.m. and we crack the wine open at 5.
Yeah.
Right.
We quite often do watch the sun come up, I must admit.
I don't really drink, so I'll bring some sparkling grape juice or something.
Yeah, that's okay. That's right.
It's still in a bottle and it sparkles.
Right, Stephen, are you going to join us? You're going to be part of the 3 a.m. club? He's asleep.
He's
more like-
sleeping. He's
it's more
sleeping
like
in a
7
very
o'clock.
special place that night.
Sunrise is going to likely be around 6:37.
Did you tell Stephen that I'll have a camera in the room he's sleeping in?
Well, I don't know if he's sleeping in a room. I think he's sleeping in a shed.
Apparently, he's keen as.
He's keen as. Okay. Oh, no.
Not shy.
That's part of the 3 a.m. club, I think, was what he must be talking about.
Yeah. Okay. He's still focused on knickers. Oh, we do have some fun.
Maybe we need to change our logo to like some ghostly knickers.
Or a ghost with a pair of knickers on, maybe.
Would you like a butt? You know, the 2 P's?
Oh my God, Barbara.
Yeah. I'll
It's
have a go
that
with that.
saying like you just need a 14-year-old boy to look at your logo to tell you whether it is acceptable or not.
Stephen says no, he'll sleep anywhere. Well, I know where he's sleeping, or I know where he said he wants to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I told him if he wants to sleep there, he better bring his camp stretcher with him because
I will have a camera in there, Stephen. It won't be one of Tracey's. Don't worry, it won't smell.
cheeky bloody woman. My camera will be smelling of nothing but roses because it wouldn't have been used previously. It's brand spanking new.
Tracey said spanking.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was
Sorry,
going
guys. I'm
to
going to be quiet.
because we're devolving too quickly.
That's all right. As soon as you said that, I got a picture of a nurse in my head. We were talking about nurses' uniforms earlier. It's just degenerated. We're just degenerates.
Anyway, listen, we need to stop this.
Yes, we do.
Has
Just get
anyone
off the
got
train.
any questions?
You do realise that you've just blown, or we've completely blown what Tony said earlier about how professional we were, and yeah, gone.
There's no we.
Okay.
Okay, the word restraints has come up now. I've got to say it's nearly time to go. Are there any devices available that are beyond reach due to financial restraints? Yes.
Yes. The sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
Imagine if we could design and develop our own technology that was really high end.
That would
You
be
could throw
awesome.
billions at it. You could do an Elon.
Totally.
Just throw money at it.
That would be awesome. But yeah, there's a lot of equipment. Well, that's pretty much the biggest thing, in all honesty, Tony. The equipment that I would love to have, there's no way in hell we will ever have, because we were talking about it costing a fair few thousand per item to get it. I keep seeing all this equipment at work because I work for a network company, and I'm like, oh, and we're not chucking any of those out soon, are we? And they're like, no, we've just bought a whole brand new. Do you know how much these are, Trey? These are $12,000 each. And I'm like, yeah. Are we going to upgrade anytime soon? Because if we're going to upgrade, I've got uses for all of these things here, you know.
Also, it's
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
the cumulative cost. You know, I mean, when I go through my equipment and think about it, like I thought today that my really good recorder was malfunctioning. It seems to be okay now.
Oh,
but it's like,
God.
to replace that, I'm looking at $500 or $600. That's just one recorder out of, I have 4. And so it all adds up massively.
Yeah.
Like Tony's the one who asked that question. So he was here when my tripwire, he was with me when my tripwire lights turned up. And as I said to him, you know, they were over $500. So although the equipment's expensive to buy, but when you actually look at the the cost of your equipment as a whole,
Oh,
it's crazy.
shit.
Absolutely crazy. Personally, I try and allow about $1,000 a year for equipment, and but that's nothing. Like, I've spent my $1,000 already this year, and there's probably a good 2 or 3 things that I would love. That's on my list for next year.
Yeah,
I don't have to replace
just
my
written
recorder.
myself a bit of a list myself, Barbara. And
Yeah,
if this is nothing new, these are just getting more
That's-
quantity wise of what I've already got. You know, like I might have one of this and one of that. Well, now I want to up that to a couple, or 3 of this and 2 of that. So yeah, it's just buying the same stuff but more units. But yep, I think are Ouija boards really a bad thing, like they make it seem in the movies? Listen, it's no different than opening up your door at night time when you don't know who's on the other side. It's absolutely no different. If you do make a connection with the other side, you have, unless you are trained, you have absolutely no way of stopping whatever wants to come through. And that is the issue with Ouija boards. But are they like they're made in like they seem to be in the movies? No, they're not.
definitely not.
I don't even think you really communicate with people because there's science behind that. When I went to Salem, they moved production. I think originally they were in Connecticut or somewhere like that. But when I went to Salem, Massachusetts, there was a building there, and that was where they actually were manufacturing the Ouija boards, because they're a game. They've always been a game.
Yeah.
And I went to the museum, and they have every Ouija board or communication board that you could think of, including original plates that they used in the Salem factory to print them.
Wow.
I've never been able to make them work.
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. But I do understand there is a school of thought, and this is not, there is a possibility that if you do make a connection with another dimension, anything can come through. But you've got to be able to make that connection in the first place. And 9 times out of 10, or 9.999 times out of 10, there is no connection made by using a Ouija board.
It's really so different to using an audio recorder and asking questions. There's absolutely no difference. There's nothing to be worried about with a Ouija board.
It's using an audio recorder is literally the modern Ouija board, because you're effectively doing exactly the same sort of thing. You're trying to connect with the other side, or dead people, or whatever. It's just that when we're talking about dead people, it's just not necessarily dead people that can come through. But that's no different than Barbara and Tasha and I doing call-out sessions in an empty room, and we get responses. We don't know who those responses are from. They might not be from a dead person. They could be from something that's never been living before. And that's the chance that we take when we hold the call-out session. We're effectively trying to make contact, which is exactly what what the purpose of a Ouija board. It's a communication device. So is EVP, or so is a recorder. We use it as a communication device. But we'll do a session on EVPs because I've got some really cool data that I want to talk about. Not mine, so I'm not taking credit for it. Scientists that have done it. So we'll chat about that at some stage.
Sounds interesting.
But other than that, don't know about you guys. Anyone got any questions before we hang up the phone? No? Cool.
Silence.
Silence.
Oh, they're all asleep.
Golden. We put people to sleep. Fantastic. Just what we wanted this podcast to do. The podcast is working then.
We're
just like crime programs, like murders and stuff. That's what apparently all of us, I fall asleep to like forensic files and stuff like that.
I fall asleep to the WB Paranormal channel every single
see,
night.
I can't stand watching the paranormal teams. No.
Oh, they're not all investigative programs. That's the
No.
beauty of them. Some of them are discovery programs. Some of them are old, like the old Journey into the Unknown and things like that. But yeah, I fall asleep to it because I can't sleep. I've got insomnia and it puts me to sleep. So there you go, Barbara. The paranormal puts me to sleep.
Okay.
I find it soothing.
Good night, Colette.
Night, Colette.
Good night.
Sleep well.
Tony.
And yes, Tony, we do podcast every Friday at 8 p.m. Sometimes we do a pre-record, but we're doing more and more lives at the moment, which is really cool. And how do you subscribe?
On here.
Barbara?
On YouTube.
Don't you dare say Google it.
No, just go to my page, Tony, and there's always a link
to the podcast. How does he subscribe to the podcast?
I don't know.
All you should do
YouTube.
if you're in YouTube, and you should be in YouTube because that's where this is going. There's a subscribe button.
Oh, there you go. I've learned something.
There is a subscribe button. Hang on. Just hang fire.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and subscribe and it'll come up on your feed.
I'm just trying to go into it now. I am just
next week, folks. Next week it's another live. Okay, and I'm going to be telling you about Napier Prison.
Yay!
I will share some of my photos with you. I'll tell you some of the stories about the prison. I'll tell you about some of the investigations that I've done there. So it'll be good. I'm looking forward to sharing some information with you. And I've got lots of photos.
Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to do something to show Tony the subscribe button. Hang on.
Just share your screen.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh. Do you want me to do it?
Hang on a sec. Present. Share screen. Share screen.
That's right, Colette.
Where are we?
Good night, Jess.
Share.
I think he's gone. I think Tony's gone.
Can you see my screen, Tony?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, well, there's the subscribe button right there.
You've got the wrong screen. It's your Google.
Oh, bollocks. I've just clicked on the other one, haven't I? Stop sharing.
I think Tony's gone. He said it's been fun. Thank you.
I think it's gone. It's gone, Ski.
Yeah.
There's a subscribe button, Tony. Bye. Oh, no, it's tiny. Oh, hang on. Hang on, bud. Hang on.
Oh, no.
Do you want me to present it?
Do it, please, Tash.
All right. So
I showed the wrong screen.
We'll do that.
It's coming up in a minute, Tone. Hang on a sec. Collect no handcuffs. God.
I know.
It's a minute,
Is that better, Tony? Can you see that? If I scroll up.
Collect no handcuffs. God.
I know.
Can you see that? Is that better? There's a subscribe button underneath. If I scroll up.
Collect no
then you just
handcuffs.
click that.
God.
It says subscribe.
Yeah, I can't see it.
There's a subscribe button underneath. And then you
Collect no handcuffs. God. Mute it.
Yeah, I can't see it.
There's a subscribe button. It is muted. And then you
Collect no handcuffs.
That was muted.
Tasha, I couldn't see where you meant. Seriously.
Oh, he's got it. He's got it.
He's got it. It's fine.
He's got it. Yay! And please, guys, please remember to like the podcast and comment.
And listen all the way through it. Even if you're not listening, even if you're not watching it, just leave it going, because it needs to go all the way through for us to actually get the watched thing.
Yeah, if you don't like it, and if what happens is there's this wonderful thing, and it's called analytics. So it tells us when you exit out of the video. And there's this other wonderful thing, and it's called oh God, the name escapes me. It's called algorithms. That's it. And so what happens is, if you don't like the video, and if you don't comment in YouTube against the video, and if you don't watch the video all the way through right into the end, then YouTube in its infinite wisdom says, oh, people didn't like this, I'm not recommending it, and doesn't push it out to people. So our audience doesn't grow. So if you could please like the episodes, just click that thumb button, subscribe to the channel so that you get notified when we've got another one coming out, and comment underneath the video when you can put comments up, and then just watch it all the way through to the end. That'd be great. Thank you so much. That would be so appreciative, because then that will actually, what that does is YouTube then starts pushing it out to more people that like paranormal stuff, and then we'll get more watchers, more subscribers, and then we might actually even be able to go live from YouTube instead of having to go live from Facebook. But I think we're a very long way away from that at the moment. Okay, well, I'm ready for bed. Chaos reigns. Yes, Colette, you know us ever so well. All right, so Barb's told you next week what we've got happening, which is going to be freaking super awesome.
Surprise.
8 o'clock on Friday.
And it's going to be a live, so we can interact. I like the lives for that. Good night, Tony. It was lovely to meet you. Good night, Jess. It was lovely to meet you too. And the 8 people that are in watching, so that's fantastic. Thanks so much. Nice to have you on board, and we'll say good night.
Thank you,
So,
folks. Have an awesome weekend. Try and
have
stay
a great weekend.
Yeah.
Have a fantastic week, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Good night.